Before this video starts, I just want to give a massive shout out to all my channel members. If you want to receive a shout out, then become a channel member today and you'll be shown on screen like all these other channel members here. Anyways, enjoy the video. In version 15.0, we get to see the addition of one new Ultra Form. This has been an extremely anticipated Ultra Form ever since Kaguya got hers due to the possibility of the Ultra Souls going back to their smaller versions. This, of course, being the Ultra Form of Kasa Jizo. In this video, I want to go over everything that they had received in their Ultra Form and how it improves on the base form of Jizo. In order to get this Ultra Form, you need 2 green Behemoth Gems, 5 red and purple Behemoth Stones, and a golden cat fruit. I think the best place to start is to focus on how he compares to the base form in terms of health and damage. Ultra Jizo, even before Talents, gains a solid 22% HP boost compared to base Jizo, giving them more survivability, spawning 35,000 HP. When sprinkling health talents, this gets bumped up further to 42,000 health when compared to base Jizo. This is a 46% boost in health. While Ultra Kasa Jizo doesn't get any attack boosts naturally, Talents give them a 20% damage boost, allowing them to deal a base 15,000 damage or 61,000 damage against Black and Angel enemies. With this quick comparison out of the way, we can now look at the rest of the additions given to Jizo, as well as touch up on some things that made base Jizo so strong in the first place. The additions that Jizo gains through Ultra Form include a boosted speed, going from 14 to 19, an Omni Strike of -200 to 350, and 100% survive. First is the speed boost. Jizo being able to get into the front lines faster is a solid addition. The speed boost he gains is perhaps the best speed boost possible, since they'll never outrun Manic Eraser or talented Jianshi, but will always just be right behind them. Then we have the Omni Strike, which while minor, seeing as Jizo already has 320 standing range, this Omni Strike does give him some leeway in actually hitting targets. It does have a niche use as a way to get free chip damage on Wing Piggy, but this requires a stepping stone to do so, which can be very tricky in some stages. Perhaps the biggest addition is Survive, which gives Jizo stacks way more chances to pump out a ton of damage and to boost their longevity. The boost to Jizo's health also allows him to be used against more enemies with less risk of being juggled, like Sleipnir for example. Jizo, like Kaguya, also gets an indirect buff when compared to base Jizo. This was mentioned somewhat earlier, but the buff Jizo gains is the ability to use talents, like his third form. The first and perhaps the biggest of these is Curse Immunity. Seeing as Jizo's damage output comes in sheer numbers, especially for his 2 traits, having it all be shut down by a Lora's Curse or Relic Doge base to name some examples can be devastating. Thankfully, Jizo no longer has to worry about this. Jizo is also one of the prime units to benefit from Curse Immunity, since Black and Angel enemies are among some of the most common traits paired with Relic enemies. Some stages with either of these 2 traits and Relic include Rest Stop Sacrifice, Rutsburg Vortex, Lamps Aloft, and Bare Fangs at the Throne. Then we have Toxic Immunity, which allows him to effectively replace Cyborg's role as a general toxic immune attacker due to better all-around stats, and even copying her Survive. This immunity also allows Jizo to be especially helpful against Dark Joe, as now they can't get slammed with the nasty Toxic. Jizo also gains a ton of value on Big Pang Z, thanks to the fact that a large majority of the enemies in the later 10 stages are black. Papu is another enemy who gets crushed by Jizo Ultra Form thanks to Toxic Immunity. Last is Surge Resist, which is somewhat niche as it doesn't have that big of an impact, but it does give Jizo a much better matchup against Saint Dober, not taking nearly as much damage against a dog. One last thing to mention is by gaining access to talents is being able to use Talent Orbs, as Jizo is able to get a ton of mileage out of Talent Orbs for just how spammable he is. If Jizo gains access to a massive damage S orb against Angel or Black enemies, his damage shoots up to 69,120 effective damage with 21k DPS. While this may seem like a small boost, remember, Jizo is a unit that is absurdly strong in numbers, so giving each Jizo 8,000 more damage and 3,000 extra DPS can get you extremely far. Now seeing as Jizo does come back to base form, how well does he compare to the attackers of the same caliber in terms of general and specialized damage? When compared to a level 50 plus 10 Cameraman and Cyborg, Jizo easily crushes both of them in terms of being a general stackable attacker, sporting a way better health stat and damage output. There isn't much of a comparison with Black attackers, since the other 2 main attackers have different niches, like Pizza focusing on being a one-man army in terms of damage, and CAT being a rusher, but it's still worth noting that Jizo has more stats than a talented CAT. Spammable Angel attackers are a bit more commonplace, with the likes of Bubble and Mushroom, and as expected, Jizo has the best stats out of all of these units. Now this is the part where I bring up the real reason Jizo's Ultra Form is more insane than you might expect, even outside of the amazing stat boosts. Some Jizo users have been clamoring at me to mention this extra detail, but I saved it to the end for a reason. All of these additions, from the amazing stat boosts, to the survive, to being able to use their other talents for a ton of relevant threats, are all packaged on a unit with a cooldown of only 3.87 seconds. This short of a cooldown on a unit with these stats allows Jizo to be an absolute monster on the battlefield, being able to pile up extremely quickly and absolutely shred a ton of threats in a matter of seconds. Because Jizo has such a short cooldown, research combos are able to boost their productivity to insane levels. With Biohazard and Bony Bone alone, Jizo's cooldown goes near the hard limit of 2 seconds, with a cooldown of 2.13 seconds. This makes Jizo's cooldown 81% faster, which adds up absurdly fast. Courier is another spammable attacker who is very strong generally, but has almost twice the cooldown and can't stack nearly as easily thanks to their much higher speed of 25 and 250 standing range. When compared to Cameraman, the other prime mid-range generalist attacker, Jizo is over 3 times faster, and having a much higher standing range gives Jizo the advantage of making stacks do a lot more quickly. Mushroom has a cooldown of almost 10 seconds while Bubble has an 11-second cooldown, and remember, Jizo at base has a 3.87 second cooldown. So, how good is Kasa Jizo's Ultra Form? Jizo is already amazing at being a generalist attacker in his base form. In fact, back in the day, Jizo was among the big 3 of Ubers, but stronger additions in terms of both units and enemies have made Jizo fall off a little. They were still an amazing unit at what they did, but they just couldn't keep up with statflation. With this Ultra Form and the ability to access talents, Jizo comes back roaring with a whole new set of tools that allow him to once again stand among the greats. This Ultra Form is absolutely worth picking up if you have the means to do so, as all of these additions already turn a great unit who just couldn't keep up into perhaps the best spammable general attacker for the modern meta. With all that said, I want to thank you for watching this analysis of Ultra Kasa Jizo. If you thought this insight was interesting, then be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy BattleCats content, and comment down below your thoughts on them. I'd love to hear what you all think of them. Also, shout out to the following channel members: Dr. Deadly, Gamet, Ian Dean, Ninja Stars, Virus Opero, Just a Shark, Gross Cat the Ultra, Potato King, Atsushi, King Wolf, Tentacle Gaming, Clamorous, Barely Grover, Jade Rabbit, Mustafa, Janek Altenberg, and Reed Gaming for being silver members or higher. If you want to receive a shoutout just like these channel members here, then become a silver member or higher today. Becoming a channel member supports what I do in a way that helps keep the lights on and allows me to continue making content for all of you to watch. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day.